Hello and welcome to the Warp Shelf. I'm Frank Duran.
I'm Deshaun Vasquez.
And today we're talking all things Godzilla, guys. We're
Now-
talking Godzilla -1.
Now, normally as a podcast, we talk about all things art or anything that moves you, anything that can fit on your shelf, whether it be physical or proverbial or metaphorical. But today's just all about Godzilla, baby.
Today's all about Godzilla, baby. We skip the normal intro. We go right to what belongs on your shelf. Everything Godzilla. What am I working for Toho? No, I don't work for Toho. I just love this little lizard. This is my friend. Godzilla is a friend to all, and Godzilla is a very important thing in my life. So I'm very excited to talk Godzilla, especially with one of my best friends in Godzilla, Deshaun here. The man gifted me a couple years ago this beautiful bitch, the Godzilla Shoho era films from Criterion. Oh my God, look, is that 15 Godzilla movies and beautiful Blu-ray? Yeah, it is. And he also has gifted me this beautiful 2004 Godzilla that I haven't even cracked open yet because I want to give it glory.
Yeah, the SH Monster Arts for Final Wars Godzilla specifically.
It's back there. It's back there. I swear the camera's bad at the moment, but it's that box there all the time. If you're wondering what that is, I'm trying to build up to having like a whole city diorama that I could do that Godzilla can wreck, and I can give glory to it. But really, seriously though, me and Deshaun love Godzilla. We've seen a lot of Godzilla movies together. This one, we might need to go see it again, Deshaun. So we might need to go. That might have to happen to go see it together. But we saw it separately, but we saw it in two kind of unique experiences because I saw it in IMAX, and you saw it at Alamo Drafthouse.
Yeah, they finally opened the Alamo Drafthouse in Boston, which is something I've been waiting for a good while now, because I very rarely go to the AMC near me because people get rowdy there. It's super annoying. People get rowdy.
Christ.
Like that's the place I go to where I will expect the most amount of like people just being obnoxious. So I just don't go. And so I usually just go to the Coolidge or the Somerville Theater, but both of those are kind of out of the way. Like I have to make a trip out of going there. So Alamo Drafthouse finally opening up in the Seaport. That's much closer to me. That's kind of a comparable trip to going to the AMC near me. So, and I had always heard about how cool the Alamo Drafthouse is with all its other locations, like everywhere. I'm like, I want one. Why don't we get that? I want that.
Yeah. When it started spreading, I was like, you guys should come to Boston. You have no reason to, but like you should. You know,
especially given that from what I can gather, like other big chains have tried to sort of like ape that formula. Like they were one of the big proponents of like, oh, food service and like, etc., having a bar, etc., and then all the chains try to copy that, but you're just like, but you're an AMC, so you suck.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I grew up with a New Hampshire classic. I grew up with Chunky's, which was basically kind of where I had my kids' birthday parties. Saw Star Wars Episode 2 there. I saw Dinosaur there. I recently saw many horror movies there because it's still open and running great because they do cheap tickets. It's a lot of food. It's a lot of actually good food and drinks, and but they don't take it as seriously as Alamo Drafthouse, where they kind of like just kind of come up to you and interrupt the movie, and they're just kind of just like, hey, what can I get you?
The way it works at the Alamo Drafthouse is you go in, you present your ticket at the box office, you sit down in your nice reclining chair, where a lot of theaters have now. You have your little table to eat. Underneath it is a slot for both a menu and a notepad, and there's a pen on top. So you grab your menu, you put it under the table light, because there's like a subtle little table light there. Read what you want, write down what you want, stick it in a slot that keeps it upright, and hit the button.
Sounds nice to me.
They come in, they take your card to like open a tab, and it's as simple as that. You wait for your food. They said they'll like come in maybe 1 or 2 more times, usually with a sign that says like last calls, just in case you need anything. But otherwise, they
Wow.
know like if you want something, that you can just write it down and hit the button. It's also the way you tattle on people if they're being annoying, because they have a very strict like no nonsense. Once it's supposed to be quiet, it's supposed to be quiet.
Okay, I like that
And
though, because that's the thing about Chunkies. It's more of a party atmosphere. Is it's definitely more loud. I would
yeah.
say I love it. I still love it. There's a lot of great movies. I feel like a horror movie is perfect to go see there, or like because it's like a fun audience
Mhm.
experience. But like yeah, you don't
But
want
there
to
was
see a nice reflective movie.
yeah.
You're
But it
just
was
like,
also
oh wait,
just
hold
the
on.
attention to detail that I super enjoyed. I know for movies that are going to be playing more consistently, like more than just like a limited run like Godzilla, they'll sometimes do like a themed type of like meal or snack or drink for
Mm,
the movie. And whenever you show up at the movies early before the trailers even start, you always have like ads or something playing.
yeah.
For Godzilla minus one, they had this whole like video retrospective of like here's like a quick breakdown on all the Godzilla eras through like all the different tones.
That's wild. I
Just like
like
this
that
is how
though.
he
That's
started
really
as like
cool.
this darker, more like reflective movie with the original Gojira, and then it made money, so then he became more and more lighthearted, and then you got into the Millennium series, which was mostly just about the fights.
Yeah, right. It's about the goods,
And they even
goods.
had like this funny video. It's like parenting with Godzilla. It sort of reminded me of Cooking with Scorpion from Mortal Kombat, where it was just
That's
a
super
clip
funny.
show of Godzilla being mean to Minya.
And you're like, oh no.
And
But he deserves it.
yeah,
Not.
and even for the whole like, all right, guys, time to be quiet section, the obligatory thing. They did
Yes,
this cute little stop motion video where it's like this Godzilla playing with a Godzilla and Rodan toy. And
that's cute.
there's a tiny little Godzilla across from him on the couch, just like on his phone and like making noise. And the Godzilla who's playing with the toys just getting progressively and progressively angry until he attacks him. And it was just like,
That's funny.
silence your phones, no talking, no texting, or you will be atomic breath.
That's cute. I like that though. I like that like nice attention to detail and love of film. Like that is really apparent.
Yeah,
Obviously,
it's
there.
just like,
That's
oh,
like
someone
really cool.
cared.
Someone gave a shit, and that's really cool. I saw it in IMAX in Hooksett, which was a very good IMAX screen. It's not like a Jordan's Furniture, but it is big enough and definitely loud enough. IMAX for this is a must. I don't often say that, but I feel like you want to feel Godzilla shake you, and that's exactly why seeing this in IMAX is worth it, and to really feel the soundtrack shake your
Mm-hmm.
insides, because I will say that this is and we haven't even like really gotten into the movie yet. I'm so excited about this movie. I was so excited about this movie beforehand because this was a director who loved Godzilla and had worked Godzilla into another one of his movies. Kind of like a kind of got permission from Toho to have like a dream sequence in one of his movies where Godzilla shows up. And it really I think started that relationship, and he was already a very done a ton of movies. This is Deshaun, please help me if I'm going to mispronounce this, but it's Takashi Yamazaki.
Yep,
And
you got it.
thank you. I've been trying to work on my Japanese names because I've been terrible at them. But big in Japan for for doing like Stand By Me, Doraemon, and like the Fighter Pilot, always Sunset on Third Street, movies that are very Japanese, and like I don't think a lot of people would have seen other than maybe Lupin the three the first, or Dragon
Yeah, it
Quest
definitely
Your
doesn't have like the
Story.
same like international appeal that like Anno did for Shin Godzilla, because you're just like, oh, Anno, the Evangelion
Yeah,
guy.
right. But this isn't no slouch. Like this is and I think he already had a love for Godzilla, going in, already worked it into another movie. And I feel this movie radiates with a lot of love for Godzilla, and but also is not afraid to be like, let's keep building what Godzilla is and
Mm-hmm.
keep moving forward. And like and I feel like they were doing that with Shin Godzilla, but even more so here, where we're just like, instead of just being like, let's do something weird with Godzilla,
Well, he's
this
definitely
is
just wearing his influences on his sleeves. I already felt the vibes of like
oh yeah.
several different movies watching this, and then looking up interviews after I came out of it and him just admitting what the influences are. I'm like, oh, that's what
Yeah.
I said. It's just like he
Yeah, so
Shin
what are the
Godzilla was
influence?
like one thing just because he
Yeah, of
appreciated
course.
that take, and obviously that's like the most recent Godzilla film before this. And he said he also like really harkened back to the original 1954 film.
Yeah.
And he also said Jaws
There's
is
a
a major
lot of
influence.
scenes that are there's a lot of scenes that are direct, like from the original movie, which
Yeah.
is I appreciate,
And he also
or a
cited
play on the movie.
Jaws as a major influence, which is one of the first things I said when I came out of it. I'm like, that had such major Jaws vibes.
It does, because I mean, if you're just an American Godzilla watcher, if you've only seen some of the Godzilla 2014, you're used to Godzilla sort of being a good guy, like always being like a friend to all. But if you're you go back a little bit, and other than just even Shin Godzilla, you have Tokyo SOS, where he's straight up evil Godzilla, like, and lots of other
Yeah,
movies
and
where he's just the
GMK,
villain.
All Out
Yeah,
Monsters Attack, which is another one he cited. I'm like, oh, I could see
yes.
that because Godzilla is such a prick in that.
Yeah, right. I would say that's probably my favorite thing about this, is that it is an evil Godzilla. Like, I love that we are just leaning into like, this is just a bad situation. Like, this is not. It's almost an allegory. It's almost not like a like, oh, we shouldn't have used nuclear bombs allegory, and more of a just like revenge against humanity for fucking existing. Like, you're just
Mm-hmm.
like, oh no. and and I really enjoyed how deep into Godzilla this director really is, and you can tell he is, because you were saying it earlier, the influence of the original movie is very apparent, not only in the scenes where they literally have the guy sitting on the whole a crew on the roof narrating
Yeah.
Godzilla when they were first, in Ginza, and I was laughing at that, because I was like, if this was American film, there would be Aaron Burr there,
Raymond Burr.
Yeah, Raymond Burr. Sorry, yeah, not Aaron Burr, Raymond Burr. And you're just like, I thought that was funny that, like, like they're harkening back to the original, and
And
directly
we've
there,
tried
and then
to
killing them. And I was
and
like,
we've
that was
tried
so
to
great.
emulate that original film before, not so much in structure. This one feels so similarly like structured to that original movie, but in
Mm,
tone we try to sort of recreate it. Like basically every
yeah,
time Toho has rebooted it and we're like, okay, we're starting off with a solo movie for right now,
yeah,
where it's just
just
Godzilla
Godzilla
by
messing people
himself.
up.
We tend to like, let's make it darker, let's not make it silly. And even the 2014 Legendary film also tried to
Yeah,
harken back to that. Just like, we're very serious. This
very
is a
serious
this
Godzilla
is
movie.
this is a war movie.
It's a war movie. Now, every Godzilla movie has human drama. You have to have it. Or your Godzilla Final Wars, and all the humans fight each other or yell at each other. And guess what? I love that more. But also you have like Shin Godzilla, where you see the bureaucratic side of this,
Yes.
or
There's not really
or
so much a central cast of characters in Shin, so much as it's just like Godzilla versus the government.
yeah, and or you have like Godzilla versus Biollante, where you have like the girl who's the psychic, and
Yeah.
like there's a lot of Godzilla movies or Mothra movies where they're like, there's a girl that's a psychic, like, and like that's we've gotten used to that. I love this movie for a lot of reasons, but I think one of the reasons why this will be harkened as one of the best Godzilla movies is it's able to do the human drama and not only make you care about it, but add stakes that matter and feel real, and they are able to make you care and actually give a shit about the human drama going on. And I feel like there was like just enough Godzilla in this to make you satisfied, but
Yeah.
also the human drama didn't make me be like, okay, come on,
Mm-hmm.
let's go, like
So
you do with a lot of older
yeah.
Godzilla movies. Like, and I'm a Godzilla fan, but there's some Godzilla human plots where you're like, I kind of want to fast forward till they're punching
Yeah,
each
that
other,
it kind of comes with the
like
territory. That's why when people complained about it for the two legendary films, you're just like, bro, this is par for the course, my man.
yeah,
I don't
right.
know
You're
what to
like,
tell you.
this is what it is.
Yeah.
And even
So plot
even I
wise,
heard a terrible review as I was leaving the theater. They were like, "Oh, the Japanese have a lot of drama, right?" And I was like, homie, homie, have some fucking human empathy. This
yeah.
is I was like, these are people that we literally firebombed their city. That's what we're looking at. Like, dummies might be looking at this movie and think that the Tokyo that they're looking at that is burned, that they're living in, is been nuked. Nope, that's from the
Oh,
fire
we did more
bombs
than just
they
nuke
did for
Japan.
months. Yeah, we didn't just nuke them. We didn't just drop two gigantic nukes, which would have completely decimated those cities. But not only that, but we did firebombing around to every major city to prep for dropping the bombs. And that from Oppenheimer. But like that's like but like it's one of those, and a lot of people were joking. They're like, this is Oppenheimer too. Like, you're just like, yeah, I mean, a little bit. Like, you're just like a little bit. Because like it's definitely does not concentrate on the nuclear power here. It's just more the
This is a post World War II drama,
yes,
which is what I liked
exactly.
about it. Like plot wise, we follow a former kamikaze pilot, which is already an oxymoron and part of the drama. Just like former kamikaze pilot, kind of contradicts each other, does it? And just the and just that like
Love
guilt
that.
that permeates, like, it's like I've lost my honor. I'm not a real man. I couldn't make the sacrifice that other people did, and I got this battalion that actually took me in, killed because I was too cowardly to fight back.
And people directly tell him to his face that like he's the reason why they lost the war, even though he knows it would have not changed a thing
Mm-hmm.
to do neither of the things that he was asked to do, to either kamikaze or shoot Godzilla in those scenes. Like both of those things would have not done shit, and we all
So
kind of know that.
he comes home, his family's gone because of the
Yep.
firebombing, house is gone, and he takes in this girl who's taken in a baby that basically her neighbor gave her before she died. So it's just like this found family through like hard times,
Yeah,
and them just sort
I
of building back up their lives.
kind of we Christmas we taught last Christmas we talked about like Tokyo Godfather and like found families, like, and I think this is another like found family thing, and I thought that was kind of interesting and nice. And I also liked that this was not like in a world where we're drowned in save the small child plots, like since the Mandalorian was successful, where they're just like, okay, well, so now we just
Oh, it's
save.
been a thing before the Mandalorian. That just made it mainstream. I've been dealing with that in video games for like the past 10 years,
I mean, yes, very true.
between like The Last of Us and the God of War reboot.
But I would say that's not what's happening here. This is more like, fighting for your family instead of, like, oh, I gotta save this baby directly,
Yeah,
like,
thankfully.
like, thankfully, like,
But I was so engaged, like this core cast of characters
oh yeah,
between not only Koichi and Noriko and their stuff, but also like the crew that he like finds the mines with to shoot and stuff. It got to
oh
the
man,
point where, and a friend of mine nailed it. He's also a big Godzilla fan. And he had said, this is like one of the few, maybe only times where Godzilla showed up in screen and I actually felt a sense of dread because I cared.
Yeah. I completely agree. I think that's what's going to happen here is that like I think if you're, you like I said that guy's like terrible review as he was walking out, if you don't have some empathy towards this, I don't know what to tell you.
My
But
thing,
like this movie will help you, will make you care, like about
yeah,
these
like
characters, and
one of
does a
my
great
bigger
job of it.
takeaways was you could take Godzilla out of this movie and it would still be a really good post World War II
Yeah.
drama.
It
Like it
would
would
still
still
kind of
work,
function. It would still work, but then you throw Godzilla in and you got
and it just
money,
makes it even
baby.
better.
I haven't gushed yet. Like this movie's I've been kind of holding back, and of course because we already said it, but spoilers. This movie's fantastic. This movie's fucking made me so happy. This movie sent fucking the happy serotonin bubbles to my fucking brain, my man. This movie is great because not only does it make you care for the human drama finally, and you're just like sitting there being like, I actually give a shit. Holy shit. Like you're looking around being like, everyone else seems to give a shit. Holy shit, and then Godzilla shows up and he's absolutely frightening. And there was several moments where I gasped, cheered, and so did everyone else in the room, and I think that was a lot of fun. Like second week I'm going to see it in IMAX, and it's still like a full house in
Yeah, it's
New
still like
Hampshire.
really playing to the audience.
In an IMAX in New Hampshire, you're like, what? Okay, great, awesome. And it really, there was several just absolutely awesome moments. Like I think you knew you knew everyone was fucked from the beginning when the Godzilla came out and killed the whole Odo crew. You were
Also,
just
it was
like,
cool
oh,
that it was
but
a Godzillasaurus
yeah,
before
me
like it like
too.
gets big. I'm like, hey,
I love that. As a fan of oh man, is that Godzilla uh Mecha Godzilla where they go back in time and see the Godzillasaurus?
it might be.
That might be. I'm misremembering, guys, and I'm
So
sorry.
so many movies, and a lot of them have
So many
alternate
movies.
titles.
But yeah, exactly. But basically, there's a Godzilla movie where they go back in time and they see Godzillasaurus and they try to like kill it, and it does. They're like, haha, and then King Ghidorah's like, thanks
Take
for
that,
killing
you
my main.
dinosaur.
Yeah, and they're like, King Ghidorah's like, thanks, bud. Now it can take over the planet, and they're like, oh shit, we killed Godzilla. Now we gotta make a Godzilla, and you're like, and like it's cool that we get to see kind of a Godzillasaurus here, like a reasonably sized Godzilla for the first moment. And I was thinking at first, I was like, okay, I'm used to a Japanese Godzilla being small, but obviously this isn't his final form. And then they literally they do it with only visual storytelling and don't even allude to it further. They just show the atoll, the Bikini Atoll nuclear test, and they see the bombs go off, and you see Godzilla scream, and that's it. They don't
Yeah, it's like a
explain
close up
further.
of his face, like specifically of like his eye.
Yeah, and then forever on he's growing and getting bigger and mutating, and literally every attack, like literally probably my favorite scene in this. There's several favorite scenes in this entire movie, but probably my favorite that made everyone gasp was the shooting Godzilla the mine in his mouth to Sean, and it
Yeah,
just
the smile, you son of a
boom,
bitch bit.
and so yes, why you son of a bitch, and then it just like grew back. Oh, I like everyone screamed, and I did too. I was like, oh shit, they're fucked now. I was like,
Yeah,
god
it didn't
damn.
account for a fucking Wolverine ass healing factor.
Yeah, I was like, god damn. And then I absolutely loved the destruction of, is it Diza? Is that how you say that city's name, that he just absolutely decimates halfway through the
I think it was
movie with
Ginza.
the, is it Ginza? Yeah,
Yeah, I
Ginza.
think
Sorry.
so.
Thank you. And he hits it with the atomic breath, which look like after Shin Godzilla and American Godzilla, those are hype atomic breaths. They're hard to beat. Hard to beat. Uh Goom, 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 goom. I was fully Godzilla wreck got Deshaun. I don't know how other way to put it. I don't
They
know any
definitely,
other way to
that
put
one specifically felt like they looked at the Legendary film, they're just like, yo, we could top that.
we could do that better. And guess what? They did. I was so fucking hype about that shit. And I knew it was coming. Like I saw the start of it in the trailer and it still fucking sent me through the roof. If it wasn't such a devastating scene, I would have been
you didn't
screaming
expect
in
it to
triumph.
be much like Shin. You're like, okay, here comes atomic breath. But in neither movie do you expect it to be so fucking overpowered.
Yeah, right. And I do love that though. Like that,
With it
like
like
it's
turning into
already
like a thin
Godzilla.
laser in Shin, and in this, just like, oh, just nuke mouth. He can
Nuke
just spit
mouth.
out nukes, the mushroom cloud, and like the like shockwave that hits afterwards.
Oh man, fuck it! It just absolutely epic stuff. And and that's the thing is that every bit of the Godzilla scenes you get are epic, huge, fun. Things are flying through the air and they're just it's just awesome. And then you have these actual human drama that you actually give a shit about. And you're like, hey, you guys finally did it. You guys cracked the Godzilla fucking code. Like you guys, like other than Gojira, you know, like it's very hard to give a shit about the humans sometimes, you know, like it can't, it really does, you know, even in the legendary Godzilla movies,
Especially 2014.
especially 2014, they really try to lean into like, you know, you try, you know, let's care about these humans, you know,
But like the
and
moment Joe dies and you're just stuck with Aaron Taylor Johnson's character, you're like, okay, this is significantly less interesting.
Yeah, and I feel like it's a good shock moment, but it's also one of those things where you're like, hey guys, I think you think too much of
Aaron Taylor Johnson,
Aaron Taylor Johnson. I still think that as they make him Craven,
who can be like,
like,
who can be charismatic, but you have him playing like this just like very serious stick in the mud the entire time, so not very interesting to follow.
So we have here in this movie you have Coach Kochi and the main
Koichi.
and his love and the girl that joins him Noriko and of course how do you say the child's name, because I could Akio Aki, is it Akiko?
I think it was
Akiko?
Ahiko. Yeah,
Akiko.
Ahiko.
And that's the thing is that I think that these actors, uh, you gotta give credit where credit is due. They are selling this movie. All of them. I gotta give credit to the entire cast. Like I joked about in our false start that like everybody knows it's their moment to say Godzilla, but like everybody's so good in this, and I am actually really impressed by the whole cast of this movie. They really deliver believable and real performances and talk about and I think the sole subject matter is something very truthful and
even
real.
despite like how culturally over the top like it can be. Like the thing about Japanese acting in live action, and it applies to voice acting as well, is that there's not as much, say, compared to us, separation between like the stage and other mediums. That's why when you like watch anime or watch Japanese live action films, like everyone kind of plays it a little big.
Yeah.
Because that's what
they're
you
trying
do
to
on
shoot
stage.
for the like cartoon, like him slamming his head down, or you know, or the guys apologize. They have like a funny moment where Doc apologizes to him, and I was like, that was so anime. Like, what was you know, like he does something, and he's like, you know, like he does like an embarrassed like head touch, and I was like, I've seen that in like Iron Blood Orphans. Like, what was that? I was like, that was a scene from an anime. Like, but speaking of scenes from an anime, one of the best scenes, and why I got to give it the credit to the actor who plays Kochi, he does you know, and I think it's a culturally relevant thing at this point, is a Shinji scream. you know, like is and you know, after Rocket Raccoon, everyone should know that's a Shinji scream, you know, like, and I'm sure they're saying, some reviewers are like, yeah, he does a Rocket Raccoon scream, and I'm gonna be like, but like, but I or you know, you could even go further that they give a Charleston Heston scream, I guess. You know, I guess you could keep going back that like Shinji scream is very similar, but it's very specific what the Shinji scream is. It's an absolute scream of horror, not of like anger like the Charleston Heston. It's an absolute horror scream. And I think that it's, a lot of people debate if the new Netflix dub of Evangelion, if the new guy is a better Shinji scream. I think he is.
I do too.
I think
the
he's a
original AVV
devastating
dub
scream.
is bad. I never liked it.
Yeah,
I think the Netflix dub is much better.
I think there's something to be said about the original. I do think there's something a little raw to it, but I think the real, like, I think the Netflix one just I think it pulls on your heartstrings, and I think the same thing happens here when Kochi does his scream after watching Godzilla blow up Giza. Ginza, you're just like, what the I thought that was incredible. I thought that was an incredible moment. I thought he did a great job of that, because that is not easy. That's not a simple, you know, scream to give, you know, like that's not you know, that's not a simple thing you could undersell it, you could oversell it, and I think he does a great job of like capturing the horror of, you know, like you already live the god of Japan already being beat down, and then Godzilla coming in and being like, nah, -1, bah.
And also just like the visual of like the raining dirt.
Oh man, that was,
and
wild.
Like the aftermath. I'm like, that is so sick. But speaking of ties to anime,
devastating.
But speaking of ties to anime, we also have the composer for this film, Naoki Sato, who, if you're up to date on your anime, he was the composer for Eureka 7. He was the composer for Sword and the Stranger, which is a great movie. But more recently, he also did the music for Dragon Ball Super Superhero.
Ooh. I think the soundtrack here, and I think I said it for Superheroes was great. The soundtrack here is something else. Like, yes, a human drama that I would say that, you know, that people are joking that like, oh yes, this is a human drama that really like speaks to like will to live. And you know, but also there's this like haunting soundtrack. This soundtrack is absolutely gorgeous. I need it on vinyl. Like, it's an absolutely gorgeous soundtrack that creates its own sound for a very long time that like I was totally okay with. Like, they didn't break out the Godzilla theme until the very end, and it's such a hype moment when they break it out, because you've been listening
twice, because they do use it when he's in the city the first time when like he attacks Ginza.
I feel like it's almost more emotional in the second time they do it.
Yeah,
it seems to like,
I think 3 times actually.
Really?
Yeah, because it's like the first time he attacks Ginza, because it plays when you see Noriko in the subway car looking out at Godzilla, and they play it.
True.
Then they play it in the climax, and then they play it again at the end with the like, it ain't over.
Already here. He already here. But the I think it's so clever, and it's one of those things that I would have been okay with this completely new you know, like -1 soundtrack, because it's so good, and then them bringing in the Godzilla theme just works so well, and it adds so much like, but like you know, the Godzilla theme's already fucking driving.
It's also just a solid reorchestration of that original theme, which we've seen before. Like, big ups to Bear McCreary's version in King of the Monsters. That whole fucking score for King of the Monsters is so goddamn good. I love Tom Holkenberg, aka Junkie XL, but his Godzilla versus Kong score just didn't hit the same.
No. So I mean, this is I'm already, you know, like sitting there being like, so what is, you know, my favorite Godzilla, like, you know, already, you know, because that's how good this movie is, guys, because you're sitting there being like, is this better than the original? You know, like, you're like, it's a remake of it. It's very close.
I certainly came out of it just like, damn, I think I like this more than Shin, and I really liked Shin.
Yes, I was rewatching Shin to get ready for this movie, and then like, and I really like Shin, but then like after seeing this, I was like, nah, this is more my speed.
Just like,
Like this is more.
do I generally prefer a Godzilla movie where it's more about him punching another monster? Yes, but in
Yeah.
terms of like the more serious solo Godzilla films on the own, he's the primary threat. This is definitely on the upper echelon.
Uh-huh. And I think that it needs to be said that like I liked it more than Shin because I think that one of the strongest things about Shin is the imagery. I think the imagery in that movie is so strong, and that's the reason why you brought in, Anno.
Ano.
Like that's why you did that. Like to bring that imagery in. -1 is is it topping at the show?
I would say so because as a whole, I just think -1 just works more. The thing about Shin
Yeah.
that I came away with, like thinking about it after seeing -1, is just like, okay, the thing I like the most about Shin is mostly just pertaining to like Godzilla himself, the aesthetic, the horror of
Yeah.
it, the like deconstruction of it, how monstrous it is. Like I love the horror vibes for it, but outside
But
of that, it's pretty standard. Whereas like
no, I
-1,
would say Shin is a very Japanese movie. I would say that's really the real thing that sticks out is that it's such a how does Japan respond to Godzilla, and like it's very, I feel like it's almost a very personal Godzilla movie to Japan. Like
mhm.
then I feel like that's the reason why Shin might not sit with Western audiences as
Yeah,
well
that's
as
true.
-1 will. I feel like this is, uh,
But this is
it
also fairly personal to like
yeah,
Japanese culture as well.
it is. I
Given
do
like the
think that this
post-war
does
setting.
not lose its Japanese identity at all. I think this
But
is a
there's
very
also something
much a,
specific to latch onto because Shin is much more broad because it's more like
hmm,
bureaucracy as just a group. There's not really a central core cast to like latch onto or like a
yeah,
specific character.
yeah. And you're just kind of like, and I
That's one
think
of those
that
things
that's
where like I think
what's
I came
gonna.
away preferring the iteration of just Godzilla himself just because
Godzilla.
I just love the horror aspect and I love the aesthetic. The eyes can be a little derpy, but it's like that middle ground. It's just like he looks derpy, but it's also beady and really
I
creeps me
okay,
out.
so let's talk Godzilla design then. If we're talking that, let's talk a little bit Godzilla design because I think this is a great Godzilla design most of the time, but there is times when he's sitting there chicken armed.
Yeah, exactly.
His arms are so fucking close to his chest. And Shin already, it was a very like he was sitting there with his like arms up like he's a like an anime villain or something. He's like,
Yeah,
hello, motherfuckers. But like here, there's moments where they show him from underneath, and you're like, that's a big motherfucking chicken. You're like, God damn. But then when he starts moving, he looks great. I think that and I really liked his scale design here, where it's very animalistic, but not like losing Godzilla's.
yeah. There's definitely for -1. There's definitely some cues taken from the legendary design.
Yes, definitely. I do think I think a lot of American audiences will go into this and be like, "Oh, there was some bad CGI." Guys, this movie was $15 million to be made, which is unheard of
Which
in
the director himself has actually said isn't accurate. It was actually less than that, about closer to
yeah, because
13.
that's probably with like a advertisement budget,
They were
like you're
talking
just
to
like
him about the budget, and he said, "I wish it was 15 million."
so not only is it super cheap, a cheaply made movie, but also did they? I think that people forget some of the bad graphics that are in pretty much every Japanese Godzilla movie. They're working with a smaller budget than the Americans are throwing at it. For the legendary films, and that's that might
I
show,
mean,
and that's
not to
okay.
Not to shit on like Godzilla X Kong, but that shit looks real cartoony. And that's fine
Yes,
because, given the
I'm
tone
okay
of
with
like
it.
what that movie's going to be. But it is one of those things where it's not even necessarily just about how like realistic and all the
Yeah.
details, and you can see the details of the pores of their face and stuff like that for the animation. It's also about other stuff. The big thing
Yes.
that works for
How
the
it makes you
2014
feel.
film and King of the Monsters on the American side is there's a reason they keep those movies in the dark or behind like weather effects,
Uh-huh.
and they give like such weight to the monsters, so they have like realistic physics, they're lumbering, they're slow, because that makes you feel the sense of scale even more so than
Yeah.
like how pretty the CGI is.
Yeah. And I think that, if you're complaining about CGI and Godzilla films, you're complaining in the wrong movies, guys. You're complaining in the wrong movies. I love Godzilla movies because I can see the love that went into making the
Yeah,
movies.
and it's
That's
still,
the main reason why
and
I'm
it's at
there. I
least
love miniatures.
consistent.
I love filmmaking. I love seeing the love of filmmaking come through in the product. And I think that really comes through here, is that like they're not using miniatures or a guy in a suit, but I think
It
the
looks good.
love and
I do miss
dedication
that.
goes through. Yeah, I do miss that. But also I think it looks good here. There is moments where he looks a little stiff, but overall I think he looks great. And I think some of the worst offenses of CGI are sorry, my phone keeps sliding off my lap. Is the like tanks or something. They show a tank set up at one point and you're just kind of like, man, that doesn't look great.
Mm,
But at the same time you're like, how important is it to show these one tanks that are about to get blown up anyways?
yeah.
You're just like,
And also think about
hey,
how good like the
think how
destruction of the
good
city
Godzilla looks.
looks like
Like,
post-atomic breath for a budget that low.
right?
Like the
I
actual
think
destruction.
I think that's really it, is that like there's some moments that the CGI can look a little lower on the budget, but overall Godzilla looks fantastic the entire time. Like, yes, I'm saying he's got chicken arms and there's moments where he looks stiffer, but like he looks great still. Like he's still in shot looking amazing during those moments. And I think that there's those destruction scenes are absolutely epic, and they do an amazing job of really like capturing the destruction on such a small budget, which is amazing. Like you're like, this is incredible, and they deserve to make all the money they're making off of this. I'm so excited
Yeah.
that they're making a ton of money,
It's
because
it
hell
has
yeah.
such a scale to it, given like how little they would have to work with as compared to like a huge Hollywood like
Mm-hmm.
blockbuster. Like comparatively, I think the Legendary film was like almost 100 million, like the first one.
Yeah.
So like having 10% of that kind of money and being able to deliver so well is super impressive.
Yeah, it really is. And
It's to
I
the point where
think
the destruction is so effective and so believable that I call bullshit on the ending.
so.
Other than one aspect.
It's so the Godzilla 2014 had $160 million budget. Kong
Okay,
Skull
so
Island had 185 million, and Godzilla King of the Monsters had 170 to 200 million dollars. So all of them have 100% more budget than this movie, and they look amazing. They really do. But am I going to go and rewatch this -1 a bunch? Probably.
yeah.
Yeah. This is the goods, guys. Not only does the human drama slap, Godzilla looks great, does amazing things, just kind of makes you jump a couple times, which as a Godzilla fan, that's pretty fucking cool. And like and I'm totally okay with, guys. I know there's tons of people out there being like, Godzilla X, you just said it kind of looks goofy. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with with goofy Godzilla existing along with horrifying war crime
Yeah, it's not like
Godzilla,
Godzilla versus Kong wasn't cheesy in and of itself. It's about the giant lizard fighting the giant monkey. That's fine.
right?
It
That's
is
fine.
it is sort of weird, but it's also a similar progression that the actual Toho films made, where like we progressively
Yes.
get a little more and more cartoony and lighthearted. Is it weird to go from 2014 where he's so heavy that like when he enters on shore, there are literal tsunamis in his wake to like him full on sprinting at the end of that trailer. Sure, but we went weirder on the other side of the pond, so
yeah, and it's one of those things where everyone was being like, Godzilla doesn't run, and you're like, guys, Godzilla always runs. I don't know what Godzilla movies you watching, but Godzilla runs.
Godzilla does more than run; he does
movie.
flying kicks.
Yeah, like come on. I've already ranted about the kicks before, but like they did that for us, man. They did that for us, and that's amazing piece of film right there. So but Godzilla X Kong, I think that it's fun to have a fun movie, and even if American producers think that we can't have a Godzilla movie without a Kong attached to it, this movie proves it.
I think
this movie fucking proves it.
I think that's mostly because King of the Monsters underperformed, but Godzilla versus Kong did really well. So I think they're like hesitant to do another solo Godzilla movie, which I would prefer, especially since I didn't mind that Godzilla versus Kong was Kong biased because Kong never got his sequel. So I always felt like they were just kind of giving him his sequel in that. But here, having
now he's got an anime. There's a Kong Island anime, you know, like there's a lot of other media.
Being Kong biased again, and it just being about a bigger, badderer giant monkey for them to team up against. I'm like, okay, now it's not really as even anymore.
So I don't think it's just that. I think there's, Ska King is they're showing him off, but obviously the big reveal is that there's gonna be an original like Mama Titan Godzilla. I think I that's like or an original Titan like Godzilla type. It's like a big white Godzilla is what I've seen from the toy leaks.
Mm-hmm. Always the toy leaks every time.
It's always the toy leaks. They leak them out, and basically what I think that's what they're doing there. I think there was a bunch of theories going around this past week where they were like, oh, the pink Godzilla isn't even Godzilla, that's a female Godzilla, and the real male Godzilla will pop up later. I'm like, wrong. We already know that Godzilla goes into hibernation and comes back more hyped up. We literally did that. We just did it, guys. That's literally the plot of the last movie. They're doing it again. There's no other Godzilla. The other Godzilla is I think an original Titan. There'll be Ska King and there'll be another Godzilla type.
Because I think after Godzilla versus Kong, they would have to pay for another license to use the other monsters.
Yes.
So I think for now, especially since like we're sort of in like a weird place where like these movies need to do better than they have for a little bit in order to keep the ship afloat. So I imagine they're just like, let's just make our own monster because maybe we can't even afford to get other Toho stuff for now.
Yeah, and I'm totally cool with them doing Son of Kong. I am cool with them doing Kong stuff. I'm not against it because Kong deserves. American kaijus are important. Let's beef them up. But also, I'm here for Godzilla. That's what we're all really here for, my homie.
It's really
and that's what they're missing out on.
Like Kong didn't get a sequel, so it was cool in GVK for that to just be it. But
yeah,
now he's gotten it. So to be a little, at least from what we've seen, a little more Kong bias, it's just like, this almost feels like just a Kong movie guest starring Godzilla.
Yeah, I am a little worried about that might be the feel, but we'll
but that's
we'll
only
see.
Based on like what they've shown.
Yeah, what they've shown, because I feel like it might, it will definitely be half the movie Godzilla. Like it's a Superman problem. We always talk about it. They don't know what to do with the guy who's going to defeat everything, and Godzilla's going to be in hibernation for most of the movie and then come out and they're going to, be like, all right,
I think
let's
people forget that
together.
like we had 2 fights between those two in the last one and Godzilla won both of them.
Yeah, right. You're like,
people like to split up the city fight like it's 2 different fights when it's not. Like it's just 2 fights and Kong loses both.
Yeah, and yes, does Godzilla lose to Mecha Godzilla? Yeah, that's the fucking point of Mecha Godzilla, home dog. It's supposed to be a Godzilla killing machine. But is it gonna be able to kill Kong? Oh hell no.
But in lieu of franchise potential and stuff with -1, I know one of the reasons they didn't want to make a direct sequel to Shin was they kind of wanted to just build out the new continuity again. And
Yeah.
so I'm wondering, it's like, all right, is -1 supposed to be the start of that, or are we just going to get another reboot after this? Because, you know, it's happened before.
So we already said the spoilers thing. So at the end of the movie here, we have so first off, I absolutely was geeking that they were going to bring out the ozone
The
destroyer,
oxygen
like in the original
destroyer, but then it
oxygen
turned out
destroyer.
not to
Like,
be that.
yeah, I was geeking that was going to be the oxygen destroyer, but I was actually excited by their solution here because it's a more logical solution that like no animal can suffer the consequences of being dropped under that pressure and then raised immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Like it makes a lot of sense. Like that like the pressure should crush everything in the monster, and if not, the raising up should pop everything inside of
Yeah.
of any living creature. You know, like it makes a lot of sense, their plan. So I know a lot of people might be like, but like I really liked
Fun fact,
that.
kids. That's why blobfish look the way they do, because they've been raised up to. They are not supposed to look like that.
Yeah, and I really liked that there was all the deep sea fish that were inflated because they were deep sea fish and they came up too fast and they reached
Mm-hmm.
the top dead and they were all like
And
puffed
even
up.
when Godzilla rises up, like his eyes are bulging out of his head and he's like bleeding
Right?
everywhere. You're like, ooh, yeah.
Ooh. Yeah, I love that shit. And I thought that was really great. And of course, they really like I knew once they showed the plane and there was a German seat that like they alluded to earlier that like no, the Japanese don't put an ejection seat in, but like, but Germans do, like so I knew there was an ejection seat in there and I knew something was going on the minute they got the letter about it before and they were like no way, and then like I was like oh, okay, Noriko's alive, but like, and I knew there was an injection seat, but they do a great job of adding stakes and they make it work, and I think that even if you can predict it, I think it still works at adding stakes and drama to the end there. And
Yeah. Even if I think it's not bullshit, Oriko survived that. We saw that shot where she was like pulled away
she's
by the
just like
shockwave. She's fucking
yeah,
gone.
right.
There ain't no way.
Yeah, she
Although we
absolutely
have
got
that
Yamcha'd. She
although
just
we have that tease with like that weird black mark on her neck when we see her in the hospital. So I'm like, I swear to God, this is the new Shin Godzilla's tail, and we don't actually pay that off.
So, I have heard already he's interested in making, I'm going to call it -2 for now on. But I know they can't call it that. They just can't. But I would absolutely be interested in a -2 going forward and just kind of seeing what's happening because at the end of this, we're seeing Godzilla reforming in the water. So I'm cool with like a fucked up pissed off Godzilla in the next movie,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe fighting something else. And then
I want zombie Godzilla.
and yeah, like zombie-ish Godzilla. Because I mean, they already blew its head off. I was like, that's the way you do it, like zombie style, right? And it's just like, hell yeah. But they also do the thing on the neck, and it was funny because they didn't turn on the lights right away after the credits rolled, so everyone was sitting there being like, is there going to be another scene? And I was like, and I saw it with my buddy Peter, and I was like we there's no scene. That's not Japanese. They did the scenes. They did the Noriko having the the thing on her neck, Godzilla reforming,
Yeah,
like
that's it.
it's over, I mean, the other tease I feel like is how fast Godzilla -1 dispatches the Godzilla roar they're playing at it. I thought that was so fucking funny that they were like, we're gonna distract him by playing the Godzilla roar at him, and then they're like, there it goes, because Godzilla immediately attacks it and just fucking chucks it
Yeah.
across, and you're just like,
He's
I
trucking a few
love
things
that.
in this movie because there's also like the boat and stuff and
Yeah,
like the train car. He's just fucking tossing shit around.
tossing shit. I do love it. It is in IMAX. I gotta say, every one of those throws hits. Like it fucking shakes the fucking building, and you're just like, oh shit.
I love it when we
It kind
actually
of makes
do
you.
like body horror stuff in these movies
Yes.
for like the monsters. I like seeing the monsters get fucked up. So the
Mm-hmm.
way we're just abusing Godzilla in this, it kind of reminded me of the end of versus Destroya, where he's just like fucking
Yes.
melting.
Yes. And Destroy is one of my favorites. Like, it's in at least the top 10 of my Godzilla favorites, you know, like, and maybe top 5. And I think that, like, because it's just a ridiculous movie and there's so much crazy like horror stuff in it, and that's why I've always loved it.
It also has
So
Godzilla Jr. in it, who's always been way
yeah,
cooler than Minya.
yes, exactly. But I'm really down for more. -1. I'm good. I think this is a good starting point. If this is what they want to do to restart the timeline, like, that's fine by me. Even if like, they kind of jump forward a lot, or they just kind of jump forward a little, I'd be fine, time wise. Like, I really like that this was a period piece, and I think a lot of people will. I think that's what will have people keep coming back to this movie,
Yeah.
is that it's a period piece and the Godzilla is awesome. Like, I feel like that's what people will
I
be
would
coming back
like
to
a
this movie
fight
for.
next
So
time because we've already had like
yes,
2 solo outings. I kind of want to fight now.
yes, I will say that is that I do like that they're alluding to like Godzilla infecting the Japanese public, and like that could be something cool. But I do uh I do need Godzilla fighting something else. Like, I love this. I love Godzilla by himself here, but it's always one of those things where I'm like, all right, now we've seen him destroy Tokyo. Give him something to kick his ass, or it to kick its ass. Like, it's time. Like,
Yeah,
it's
especially given
and
like how the tone of this worked out so well. Like you can have both. It can be
yeah.
good like monster spectacle, but it can also be good human drama.
Mm-hmm.
It's not
And
impossible.
I don't know, how they're gonna top the human drama here. I think that it's gonna be very hard to beat. Because I feel like there's a lot of the drama derived from him coming back from war, but then again, he's not the only story. Of
Yeah.
like, so I think that there's stuff to be done here, and I think that could be really cool, and I'm excited for more Toho produced Godzilla. Like, that's really it. Is that, like, legendary, very cool, very excited by it. I want to see it. I'm gonna be there opening weekend or the weekend after, whatever. But do I want more? -1 more? Yeah, I want -2. Give me -3. Give me -4. Come on, let's go. Green light it all, guys. It made you a bunch of money. Keep going.
Yeah, I mean, we did establish in this that like even before he was hit with the nuke and mutated and got bigger, like he was
Hmm.
just on that island and like there were legends and the locals like spread about him. So I'm like, all right, if he's one, I'm sure there's more.
Right? I was thinking the same thing. I was just like, if there's just that guy, and he's so aggressive towards predators, like, I feel like we're gonna see something, like, even if it's maybe another mutated Godzilla, or something else like
Or they
that,
could just pull a
like,
GMK and like use another monster that's traditionally an opponent and just make them like the
yeah,
protagonist, I guess.
-1 ish.
That's what GMK did. It's like it made Ghidorah the good guy.
It's true. It's true. And there's always like making Mothra the good guy. And like, I was thinking too, Mothra would work really well in this setting. I feel like people being like, we've been destroyed. Japan's been destroyed. We have to look up to something, and they're looking up to like a they think made up butterfly god, and then it's real.
Yeah.
Like,
Although the challenge with
it could
Mothra
be
is that you
cool.
actually have to present Mothra being useful in a fight.
Yes, that is the problem. But I always think you got to add the larva, and then you have some fun. Like, you
Yeah.
add the Mothra larva, and it's a good time. But I'm not saying Mothra's the next move. It's always just the logical move. It's either Ghidorah or that. But I also think we could just get weird immediately, and we could get Gigan, or like really fucking just get
Or just make
strange.
or just make a new one.
Or I think with the even more so with people being mutated, we could get a Biollante like creature here,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like, which could be very cool. But you know, because that's one of my faves.
Yeah, that's
But
another reason why I'm like miffed that we don't have another solo legendary film, because Michael Dougherty says, like, if they let me do another one, I would love to do Biollante. Just like, I would love you to do that
like,
too,
yeah.
Michael Dougherty. I would love that too.
I agree. So basically, guys, for the Warp Show review, does this belong in your shelf? Abso-fucking-lutely. I think I need to own this now. I own all Godzilla movies. I need to own this fucking minute. This is absolutely worth it and worth adding to your shelf.
Yeah,
Do you agree,
absolutely.
Deshaun?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I own Gojira because you gave me your Criterion after I gave you the collection.
Yeah.
And I have the 2 legendary films. This would be one I'd probably grab too.
Yeah, I have pretty much everything in Blu-ray, and if I don't have it in Blu-ray, I have it in DVD.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I don't own Shin Godzilla though. Yesterday I went looking for it, and I have it on Google, but I don't have it in physical, which is not the rating I would give Shin Godzilla either. I'd say own Shin Godzilla, but I might not, so I might need to remedy that
Yeah.
for Christmas or something. Use a gift card to get Shin Godzilla or something. But I will say that -1, I like kind of need the physical media now. I want to go see this movie again. That's probably one of my more glowing reviews I give movies, is that I saw it in theaters and I want to go see it again in theaters. You know, like, this is not a like, okay, you saw it in theaters once. This is kind of like, let's go see that again. That was fucking sick. Like, that was fucking sick. Like, so I absolutely loved it, and
Especially since
I
you
know
and I
I'm a
have not,
Godzilla geek, but
especially since you and I have not
worth it.
seen a Godzilla movie together in theaters, because I went to go see 2014 on my own. I saw King of the Monsters on my own. I saw versus Kong on my own. And Shin Godzilla I didn't even see in theaters. I saw it on home media later.
Yeah, same here. Okay, well, maybe we gotta change that. I thought we did, but maybe we gotta change that. Because no, we saw at the Coolidge Godzilla to that the original Godzilla. No, did
Nope.
I not go with you to Godzilla?
You went with one
there?
of your roommates at the time.
Oh, right, damn. But that was it. That was a good time. I love that. I wore that shirt yesterday to the movie, but today I'm wearing my "that wasn't very cash money of you" Godzilla shirt.
Yeah, I don't actually have a Godzilla shirt. I've like looked on like Cavity Colors and stuff, which is like a nerd shirt website.
It's a great
and
site.
A
It's a great
bunch.
site.
It's just a matter of like which one I want. I just haven't decided.
I got a couple. So you know, I'm a big. I love me some Godzilla merch. So I'm all. It's one of those things where I'm like, okay, gave me Godzilla stuff. All right, that's cool by me. But guys, really, I high praise for this movie. Worth seeing. Really engaging is what I'll say. And that can't be said for a lot of Godzilla movies. And I'm a big Godzilla fan, but like, a lot of them aren't as engaging as they probably could be.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is a really engaging, fun, big film, and worth seeing in theaters.
This is one you can show to friends who could not care less and not have to say a bunch of caveats or disclaimers.
Yes.
Just like, okay, this will just play.
Yes, exactly. I don't have to explain Final Wars or Tokyo SOS before I show it. You know, like, you -1. I mean, you have to kind of with those, but with -1, it's kind of is a remake of the original Godzilla. You know, like, so it's very from page one. You know, and I think that that's a big strength of this movie, which they, you know. They've done this a billion times where they've tried to reboot it and just have Godzilla by himself, and this absolutely is that best version of that.
Yeah, I would say so.
But guys, go see it, go own it, go buy Godzilla everything. Not sponsored. I just fucking love Godzilla. He's a friend to all. But guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode. We we snuck this in, but we might get another Christmas episode coming up soon. We're gonna have to brainstorm some what we should do for a Christmas episode, but
we'll have to think about
it. But we got another one before the end of the year, probably, for you guys. And really, thank you all for the support on the previous episode. Scott Pilgrim did solid, and I really thank you guys for listening and talking about it with us. And we're very excited to keep going on with our AFI top 100 list, but we keep getting distracted by all the goods that have come out this year. I feel like
which is not a bad
stuff
thing
to talk about.
The AFI was always there as like a backup thing to talk about anyway, so it's good to actually have just stuff that's like immediate.
Exactly, that's what I was thinking. But guys, please, do the algorithm thing, make the dilly dads down below light up or click over, whatever makes things
what
happen.
To do. Feed the beast.
And if you if you are not watching our beautiful faces on YouTube, check us out on Galaxy of Geeks YouTube page, and you can also check us out on galaxyofgeek.com, where all the episodes are in both video and audio form, and other fun things on there. And then you can also check out our personal social medias. I'm Yep Frank or Yep Gundam pretty much everywhere.
I'm Mod Karika pretty much everywhere.
And guys, thank you so much for listening to us gush about Godzilla. But really, it's worth it. I can't have higher praise for a Godzilla movie. This is worth seeing. I love Godzilla, and I can't recommend this higher. And I feel like
even if you're not generally
crazy
into like those types of movies, this will probably still like resonate.
Yes,
so
exactly.
Go see it.
And
they just extended its US run, so go for it.
Go for it. See it in IMAX if you can, because it'll shake you everything. Or go see it at Alamo Drafthouse, because that's cool as hell too. Like this. See it and support the movie theaters nearby. Not as an ad, but just support the movie theaters nearby so we can continue to have those nice movie theaters. Like that's the whole game here, guys.
Yeah.
But thank you all for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week.
We'll see you next time.